Our the first 2016 Game Changer Intensive. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Mario Trigueros. I am the program manager of the Game Changer Intensive, and we are speaking to you right now from San Francisco, California.
Hi, I'm Tracy Apple. I work for the Pachamama Alliance. I'm in charge of kind of our curriculum, both for the symposium and for this intensive. And Mario and I work very closely together on the intensive. And we just want to let you know we're just delighted. A, you're in the course, and B, you've taken the time tonight or this afternoon or tomorrow morning, whichever day it is for you, because I know we've got some people from around the world with us at this moment, and we're delighted you're here, and we're delighted to spend a little bit of time with you kind of face-to-face-ish. It's not exactly face-to-face, but it's a little bit closer than we get in at any other time during the course, so thanks.
Yeah, and I'll just add, a good chunk of you are in small groups, and this is another way to sort of connect beyond just the content and material, but to really cultivate a sense of community. And this is a chance for much bigger number of people to actually get together, so you can get a sense of who else is taking this course together.
Yeah, a couple of things I want to say. Just want to make sure, I think at this point everybody's pretty clear on this, but the various elements of the intensive, what we're doing right now is called the Live Community Gathering, and we have two of them, the one right now and then on March 9th, I think it is, at this exact same time. So please put that on your calendar. So there's that, and then as Mario mentioned, almost everyone is in a small group. And meet whenever you do. And throughout the course, you'll have a chance to stay in touch with this small group. And then there are the discussion forums, which is where you actually write down your input, response to certain questions we offer you regarding certain parts of the curriculum. And I think I'd like to just remind you now, or tell you now, it really makes a difference if you will enter something in these discussion forums. At first, people told us, oh, well, I'm not that eloquent, I'm not that good a writer, so I'm not writing anything. And what we have found is that the people who do like to write, they like to hear you say, hey, thanks, or good point, or interesting. So you don't need to write the next Nobel laureate entry, but if you will maybe push yourself a little bit to post onto the discussion forums, that would be great. And then the other thing to mention, the main part of the curriculum you find on the Moodle site, is it still called that? The Moodle site, and where you'll have your readings, you've got your videos, and that's where you can access your discussion forums. And just to comment, I think it says it on there, but if there's one of the weeks where you're really, really busy, you can't do it all, you'll notice there are little asterisks. Those are the pieces we really, really recommend you be sure and get done that week. So that's a general. And I guess the other thing I wanted to say is I think it's pretty easy, it's kind of easy to sign up for a course, particularly like this. You may be finding now it takes a little bit more to actually do the work. And hopefully you're not saying, I shouldn't have signed up. Hopefully you're saying, oh, this is definitely worth doing. And I have to say, we really get a lot of feedback from people that the material of the course is worth sticking with. So whatever you need to do for the next couple weeks to continue to carve enough time to engage with the material, we highly, highly recommend you do that. And again, we're just delighted you're here.
So this call is scheduled to be 75 minutes long. So here in Pacific time, that's about 6:45. We may end sooner. And one really quick thing, so most of you are connecting using a computer, and some of you are connecting on a phone. So for those of you who are on a phone, you're going to hear us mention polls and chats, and we're going to do our best to narrate our way through that. But if you have access to a computer, now would be a great time to go do it. A lot of this presentation is going to be interactive, so you can take advantage of it by being on a computer. And having said that, we'll also post this entire recording along with all of the chat logs tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at the latest on the course website, so you can review it if you'd like. So, if you've done a small group, you know that we hold our time together really sacredly, I'd say, and that we think it's really important to pause, to really arrive, and to stay connected to something bigger than ourselves. So we're going to do that here by opening sacred space And Cher Tanner has generously offered to open Sacred Space for us. Cher is a volunteer moderator. I believe it's her first time, and she's second time, excuse me. She's heavily involved in building out a community, a Pachamama Alliance community in Florida. She's wonderful.
She probably wants us all to move there, so our community will be in big.
Yeah. So Cher, I'm going to hand over the microphone to you.
Everyone, I'm just filled with joy to do this. And so I want to ask everyone to just sit back, relax, close your eyes, and breathe. Just breathe in and allow the cares of your day to just dissipate. And collect all of your chi energy in your root chakra. Have a sense of all that energy there and feel that you're being now drawn down into the center of the earth, down through your legs and into Pachamama, right into the center of the earth where the molten lava is there, and feel yourself engaged with this genuine power source where all the wisdom of the ages resides. And that is part of us. That is who we are. And feel that pulling back up into your body, right back into your root chakra. Now feel so much more energized. And now feel that gently rising through your spine up into your heart chakra. Feel it vibrating in there, and then allow it to go out through your crown chakra, into the sky, into the heavens, on up into the universe, where you see all the stars, and count your lucky stars, because we are made of the stuff of stars. And so see our collaborators here in this community with all their star-like glory, and feel that sense of interconnectedness, our interbeing. Really feel that resonate in your heart, and then come back down through your crown chakra, back down into your heart center. And now have a sense of infinite love and gratitude, connecting you to what Charles Eisenstein calls the more beautiful world our heart knows is possible. Feel yourself participating in the great turning that Joanna Macy talks about. Call on our elders to lead us on the right path, and our children's children and all future generations. Allow them to pull us forward. Feel infinite love for each other, for the animals, for the plants, for the rocks, for all the living systems that support us and live with us. And most importantly, let us be so grateful for waking up in this time and this place with the great opportunity that lies in front of us. Sacred space is now open.
Thank you, Cher. Thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do in Florida, for the lives that you touch beyond, and thank you for your work with the Game Changer Intensive. Deep, deep gratitude to you.
So just to be clear, here's what we're doing tonight or this afternoon or morning, whatever it is for you. We're here to experience ourselves as a community, engaged in doing the inner and outer work needed to change the dream of the modern world and to change the game and the cultural story underpinning it. And what we think we'll do, let me just have the agenda slide up. We'll just open sacred space. We'll have a just check in with Mario on the technology, make sure we're all able to use the technology of this call. We're going to look together at where's the intensive, where does it come from and where is it going? We're going to look at a lot of our time together is going to be for you to find out who's in this course with you. Mario and I have read the discussion forums. We've also read your applications or looked through your applications. You'll just be delighted to find out who's playing this game with you. Who are your partners? One of the things that people most end up appreciating about the Game Changer Intensive is the kind of partnerships they start to develop across the country, across the world. So you have a chance to get to know each other during our gathering tonight. And the way we'll do it is through chats and polls, and we'll tell you just how to do that. If we have time at the end, we'll have an open time where you could ask any questions you have about the intensive, about Pachamama Alliance, about anything else, and then we'll wrap up. So just to underline, I think you know, this emphasis on that there's the inner and the outer journey in the Game Changer Intensive. And I mention that to you because the first few modules, up through module 4, are basically focusing a lot on the inner, on you as a game changer. And for people who signed up and spiritual leadership, you know, when are we going to get to the good stuff? And then there might be some of you who are just so happy that we're talking this way, and then once it starts getting to the, yeah, well, now really, what are you going to do about it part, you might go, well, I'm kind of busy this week. So here's the thing. You might lean more toward the inner, the outer. We invite you to take the whole thing on during this course. That's part of what you bought yourself, and essentially by putting yourself in this course. So please notice when the course changes a little bit right around module 5, stick around if you're somebody who likes the softer parts of being, and if you're one of the people who loves the softer or loves the other stuff, just anyway, you know what I mean. Stick around for the whole thing. Okay, cool.
Awesome. So let me give you a quick orientation of what you're looking at before we go any further. Now, a good chunk of you are already chatting, so you know how to use it. If it isn't clear, it's pretty easy to use this platform. You can see me on the sort of home screen, that main window, and just to the right of that is you have available to you the chat screen. If you don't see the chat screen, just at the top of the video that you see, there's a gray bar, and all the way to the right of that is an arrow. If you click on that arrow, you can expand or collapse the chats. And obviously, if you collapse them, you get more room for the video, and as the chats go on, you'll see down below that the little heads will actually get red numbers on them telling you there are 20 chats or 30 chats or what have you. So you can play with that if you'd like. If you want more real estate to see, you can collapse it by clicking the arrow. And if you want to chat, go ahead and expand that arrow and just start typing into the little text box. Hit enter and everybody will receive your chats. And I see that a good chunk of you are doing it, so it looks like we're underway. One last little button I'll show you is to the left of the arrow. There is, I don't know it looks like almost like an X or so. This will expand or contract your full screen. So again, this is just to give you a full experience. You can click that and it'll expand your screen, click it again, and it'll give you a little window. Just a different way of experiencing the call. One big disclaimer we want to make is, you know, ideally we could see each other, we could hear from each other, we could actually get a real visceral sense of who we are. And we're kind of at the cutting edge of this technology, and it's not yet possible to be able to do all of the things that we want to do, show videos, do polls, see each other, break out. Yeah. So far, this whole online learning domain is still actually growing a ton. So bear with us. We really, I mean, there's nothing we would like more than to actually get you talking to each other, seeing each other. We're really hopeful that technology is going to emerge. and that we can afford it. For now, we've got this, and it actually does a pretty great job of giving us the ability to share videos, do polls and chats, so hope you enjoy it. And again, for those of you on the phone, we will narrate our way through this so that you can participate. So if we're doing a poll, you may not be able to vote, but you can at least know what's going on. One final housekeeping thing is we are going to be, again, assuming there's time, opening it up to questions. So as you get them, it might be good to have a little pen and paper handy so that you can write them down and pose them a little bit later. Why don't we practice our first poll? So go ahead and pull up the first poll, and this is just to get warmed up to this technology. Our first question is just what kind of weather you like. So you should have 3 options in front of you. Click one, and that's how you're able to vote. So I prefer sunny days is one. I prefer rainy days, and I don't pay attention to the weather. Again, this is just a fun one just to get yourself familiar with how the whole polling system works. And if you vote, you should see the results up on the screen. And it looks like about 77% of people prefer sunny days. We got about 15% say they enjoy rainy days, 19%. I wonder if those are our friends in the Pacific Northwest saying hello. Great. You get the idea.
Okay, and still not everyone voted, so or used the poll, because I think we've got about 70 people on board altogether. So it's just more fun, both for you to be interactive and for others to find out about who's in the group. So we do encourage you to do the polls.
Great. So Tracy actually talked a bit about the sort of arc of the intensive, but let's get a little more detailed. So as you may or may not remember, the intensive has 7 modules. We just finished module 2. Module 3 was released yesterday evening. And as Tracy talked about, we sort of break apart the intensive into 2 fundamental questions. Who do we need to be, and what do we need to do at this time in history? So the first 4 modules are really committed to that question of who do we need to be. Started out with the introduction to game changing, where we lay out the case for collective action, present the qualities of a game changer and the principles of spiritual leadership, 2 key documents that we hope you'll take into the future. Then we move to the power of story, which you just finished. And in lots of ways, the power of story is the foundation to this whole notion of changing the game. How do you really see reality for what it is, which is choices made that support some and looking to see who it doesn't support. Really having a sense of agency to the story that's being told and unraveling some of what we just consider what is, and so that we have, like I said, a sense of agency behind it. This week, we go to potentially a provocative module, evolutionary activism. I'm really interested to see what the reaction to this module is. This module presents the idea that humanity has a role to play in the evolution of life. There's a lot to say on it. There's tons of information. Really interested to hear what you got to say about it. And the final module in this question of how to be is what we call a case for grounded optimism. As we go out into the world, we affect change, we will be challenged. We will encounter hopelessness, our own. We need to be grounded. We need to be strong in what we call grounded optimism. And this isn't Pollyanna sugarcoating of things. This is really taking a stand for what is possible and intentionally highlighting our successes. So those first 4 modules really address who do we need to be. The next module begins the what do we need to do, beginning with the rigged game. And this is where we really break down the systems and structures that really perpetuate environmental degradation and social injustice, and we focus on 2 key areas, money and power and racism. Using those 2 issues, we dive into what we're calling the rigged game. In Module 6, we bring up the key solutions that we think are crucial to spend some of our attention and energy on, game-changing movements. And we'll talk about the partners that we're working with that are actually doing grassroots movements across the country to get people involved. Those two movements are democracy and climate change. We close the whole course out with going forth, and this is where we wrap things up, and probably the most important thing in the course, an action plan. What strikes you? What needs to get done? What's your role to play? Who do you need to enlist to actually get it done? Going forth is key to actually developing a path for yourself and moving forward. So, as Tracy said, one half of the course is focused on this softer ways of being. The other course may be a little sharper. What do we need to do? Notice where you fall in that sort of spectrum. What's more comfortable for you? What really resonates? There's no problem wherever you land, but just notice where you get uncomfortable and consider it a growing edge. As Tracy mentioned, if you're comfortable with the sort of domain of being, you may be confronted when we start talking about racism or money and power and politics. Sit with that. See what's there for you to learn. That's really engaging in that way will really, we're confident that's what will really sort of cultivate your growth and our growth together. So thank you. You can take down that slide. Should we do another poll?
Yeah, and I want to thank Jim. And that we have a little quote we use around here called "Together we're a genius." And Jim, Mario, I know you haven't had a chance to read this, said that when we switch screens, all the bandwidth gets used up, and so the sound gets murky. So could we pause a little bit in our speaking in between? We'll do our best, Jim. But anyway, thank you for that. So yeah, let's try a poll. If you could put it up, Mario. And this is just. Hopefully by now everyone's been in your small meeting group, and let's just find out how are they going. See, you have a particular experience of how yours is going, but let's see how they're going for the community overall. So, could you please mark if it's that you love them, the best part of the course so far, or maybe they're fine, you're glad you've done them, or maybe disappointing, or maybe you've had tech problems that have kind of prohibited your participating at all. Or maybe your honest answer is, what small groups? So, community, just look at yourself here and see how people are responding so far, two weeks in to the small groups. And so far we've got most people think they're fine and they're glad they've done them. 34% love them, think they're the best part. And I have to tell you, from the feedback at the end of the courses, many people feel that the small groups were their very favorite part. So there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, these are strangers, so can you really talk this intimately about such important things with strangers? Well, it turns out you can, and we encourage you to be respectful with one another in your groups. Be sure, please, to let your group know if you won't be on the call. People find it so discouraging when just a couple of people on the call and they don't know what happened to each other. So that would be great if you would do that, and you'll probably have a chance to be a moderator. And when you do that, your group will support you, and we also have a volunteer moderator team who kind of help keep these small groups going, to whom we are extremely grateful. So yeah, that's what we got. Alrighty, let's take that off. And now we're going to do a slideshow for you to know a little bit about this community. This live community gathering, but bigger than that, this Game Changer Intensive. And we call you GCI number 10 because you are the 10th time we've ever had this course. So let's see a little bit about us.
There you are. These are game changers. These are a good chunk of this course, and also some people from previous courses. We've had think last year we had about 2,000 people actually go through the whole course. Over 3,000 applied, so you were part of a growing contingent of people really across the world engaging in this material. This is just a quick sense of what you look like. And I will say this points to, these are all actually all people's profile pictures. So if you haven't already filled out your profile, do. It's a really nice treat to be able to put a face to the name. Yeah. So this next slide, actually, I'm going to give it, thanks to Jim, give it a pause. All right. This next slide gives you a sense of some of the demographics for this course. So out of 321 people, this little graph on the lower left shows our age distribution. And what it's saying is this course is almost half filled with people over 55. That's
just saying.
That's pretty significant. With 25% of people over 65, that's really incredible, and it just sort of strikes me. This is an online course, and there are stereotypes for people over 65 with online tools, so that's really, really awesome. About 3% of folks are between 18 to 24, and it's pretty about equal distributions from 25 all the way to 54. So really, really interesting that from 55 on, a very, very strong representation and clearly interested and ready for this material. In terms of gender, you know, we actually see this pretty consistently. Females represent about 75% of just about every course. And, you know, I hear it when I talk to moderators that lots of groups have, you know, 1 or 2 men in them. So again, for some reason, women over 55 are really drawn to the course.
I'm just saying, just a big fat coincidence. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So just to get a sense of who else is here with you. Let's go to the next slide. So here are the countries represented or attending this course.
This very course that you're in.
Yeah. As you can see, it's pretty impressive. There are people from across the world taking this course. By far, most of them are from North America, Canada, Mexico, the US, but we've got about 20% of people in the course are from outside North America. So pretty interesting distribution of folks. And I will say, you know, a little bit of love to all of you taking this course from outside the U.S. The course is really heavily U.S. based. You know, we designed the course really for a U.S. audience, thinking that if we can get U.S. folks right, then we can take it out. And people have really been drawn to it internationally. And you know, we really believe that issues of governance and climate change are international issues, but we definitely know that it takes some. You're definitely swimming in U.S. issues, so welcome and thank you for engaging. Let's go to the next slide. So this slide again gives you some sense of the distribution across the world. As I said, most people are in North America, about 75% of them, but you know, 25% of people are international. So you're very likely to have somebody from outside the US in your small group. We can go to the next slide.
All right, and the next slide, Ariel, is going to be the scroll. Well, after this one. Okay, go ahead.
So within the U.S., here's the distribution of where people are located. And as you can see, we've got a pretty strong representation on the West Coast, pretty intense concentration of people in the Northeast, and then a really surprising swath of people distributed across the country, but definitely representing the coastal regions. For those of you calling in Middle America, you know, welcome. Any community that we can help you build out there or that's available to you here, we really, really urge you to let us know and to take advantage of it. Let's go to the next slide.
So you may remember at the beginning when you signed up for the course, we asked you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Why are you doing it? And when you read all of them, all hundreds of them at the same time, it is so inspiring. And we wanted to just let you get a feel for what is bringing this community together. And Ariel is most likely going to post some of these, but just, you don't even need to keep your eyes open at the moment. Let me just read to you, and then possibly we'll get it on the screen also. But here's what some of your fellow game changers said about this course, the one they're in with you. I would like to channel the energy of my fear and anger into something fruitful. Someone else said, I'm hoping for collaboration and inspiration. Someone who said, I want my time on earth to mean something. I'm seeking to connect with those who believe in the immense possibilities that lie around us. I want to contribute to a meaningful, positive change in the world. I'd like to be more conscious of what's really happening on our planet in relation to the planet itself. I want to connect with other like-minded individuals with a commitment to social change and environmental justice. Not everybody you run into in the grocery store necessarily has these goals. So I'm reading them so you can follow them up with each other, frankly. Here's a couple more. While I have wanted to take action for quite some time, I have not had the clarity and tools needed in order to move forward. Hence, they've signed up for the course. I'm poised to be activated. I need education and direction on how I can be most effective. And here's one, I'll end with this one. She says, I just feel so alone. And one of our goals in this course is that you don't feel so alone. All right, now here's this beautiful slide those of you on the phone are missing. And here, you could just run it if you can, Ariel, for a minute. It's a pretty tricky situation. Here you go. Just take a minute. Meet each other. That was it. That was a minute. Ariel just shot herself. Okay, don't worry about it, folks. You heard enough to get a sense of who we are.
All right.
We have a poll. Ariel, could we move on to this next poll? Another way in and finding out about who else is in the course. How would you describe how it is for you? And the question will be up on the screen in just a minute. So in other words, what is your situation? Would you say you're isolated, looking for community? This is poll number 4. Would you say that you mostly relate to world issues online? Would you say that you have a couple of people that you can work with? Or do you feel that you're kind of part of a pretty robust community taking on issues? And if we can, we'll get a poll up there where you can let your voice be heard.
So again, 4 different options, and it'll bear with us as the technology comes up. Again, what's your situation? Isolated, looking for community? Mostly relate to world issues online, have a couple of people I can work with, or part of a community taking on issues.
All right, we'll do this one virtually then. Just think,
Great.
Where are you on that spectrum?
So why don't we actually use a little bit of the chat? So we're having some technical issues with the poll, so why don't you go ahead and put your impressions of that question up on the chats. What's your situation? Do you feel isolated? You're looking for community? Do you relate to issues online? Do you have a couple of people that you can work with? Or are you part of a community taking on issues? So let's see what we get out there. Go ahead and post where you land on this right on the chat logs there.
I'm looking for a game-changing community. We'll just read a couple of them to you. I am part of a community.
Working with a robust community of youth activists. I love it.
I'm mostly online.
Mm-hmm. Looking for a community, connecting with an issue group, CCL in Tennessee. Julie Brown, hello. Some folks involved in different climate issues around. Angry, frustrated, looking for positive focus. Wonderful. Part of a community, but still isolated.
And Steph says, most of my friends are not interested in taking a real stand and would like to find a community that's really about that. Well, hopefully that's part of what you're going to find here, right here at the Game Changer Intensive.
And, excuse me, you know, just to sort of, in case this isn't obvious, obviously we were drawn to the ideas and the possibility of a course like this. And something that's also available to us is community. And there's no reason that we need to do, or that we can do this work alone. So people are available to you, and as you can see, lots of folks who are interested. Cool.
And I want to say a little bit more about that. I think at the beginning when we started the intensive, this is a personal share, I thought communities, it's really neat. You know, it's kind of, you don't feel isolated, it's great. And the more I delve into this work, the more I understand in my bones, it isn't just that it's nice, it's just that if we say we're committed to these changes, they are not possible unless we really collaborate. It's just not going to happen. So being part of a community, an active, in-action community, it's not an option. It's like that is the way through. And for some of us who are we're used to being strong, solitary figures on our own, you know what? Say goodbye to that time. Because what's in front of us as humanity now is going to take major collaboration, and that's part of the muscles we're developing in this Game Changer Intensive that you'll be developing. We'd like to read to you, if we could, just a little bit of what people have been writing on the discussion forums. Not everyone gets to read all of them, and so Mara and I are just going to read a couple so you can get a flavor of, again, who is in this course with you.
So I'll read one. Do you mind?
Please,
so
please.
This one came from the discussion forum considering Bill's twist message. This is from somebody, I won't say the names, but you can go check it out and see there's some really rich material there if you haven't seen it already. I think one of the challenges for me is to keep in mind how privileged I am, white and college educated, how privileged I am, and forgive myself for my complacency to the system, and to keep on challenging the system to be more just.
Someone else said, I have had little interest in politics because I feel at the end of the day, the person with the most money ultimately has the most influence. I'm excited to utilize the tools from the Game Changer Intensive to figure out how to change the game.
Somebody said, the system does not respond to the will of the people, it responds to a narrow few. So we say the game is rigged. To me, those words rang a deep truth in my soul, bringing up the question, what can I do?
And I love this. This is something I haven't even really thought about directly. She says, I believe we need a conversation about our power as game changers. From where does that power need to emanate in order to serve humanity? And what does that power look like individually and collectively when put in action? Pretty good.
I really like this one. The most important question is not if the game is rigged or not. It is what we can do to change the game.
Okay, and here's my last one on that one. I've decided to be more active. And even if no one else stands up, I'll feel better about myself for doing something.
I just noticed a chat that just came up. Politics smells of oligarchy these days. We need to step up in a way that is effective. Thank you. Lots of very similar postings on the course website. So this is from another discussion, discussing the principles of spiritual leadership. If you haven't seen them yet, do it. They are beautiful. They really just, they stretch the deepest parts of you to be bigger than you can imagine, and they're, at least for myself, so really take a look at them. They're wonderful. And this is from some of the discussion that happened. These principles, so beautifully and clearly expressed, seem to me to be the demarcation line between the old, dying, patriarchal, materialistic, capitalist, militarist, exploitative paradigm and the emerging one based on these very principles.
Okay, I can't help myself. I'm going to very briefly read them to you so you remember what they are. These are Will Keeping's principles of spiritual leadership. Number one, first principle is that the motivation underlying our activism for social change must be transformed from anger and despair to compassion and love.
The second principle is the classical, it is the principle of non-attachment to outcome.
And as some people wrote on the discussion forum, you could just take one of these principles and live your life through that, and your life would be transformed. So that's number 2. Number 3, the third principle is that your integrity is your protection.
The fourth principle is related to the third, the need for unified integrity in both means and ends.
Fifth principle is don't demonize your
Adversaries.
There's the word I was looking for. Your adversaries. Don't demonize your adversaries.
Huge one, huge one. I must say, now in the middle of an election season,
In the U.S.
this is a really important and wonderful tenet to actually explore. The sixth principle is to love thy enemy.
The seventh is that your work is for the world rather than for you.
The eighth is that the eighth principle is that selfless service is a myth.
The ninth principle, do not insulate yourself from the pain of the world.
The 10th principle is what you intend to, you become.
11, principle is to rely on faith.
Only 10 more to go, folks.
No,
Just sit.
come on.
The 12th principle is that love creates the form. So those are the principles of spiritual leadership, and here are some of the responses to that.
In the political culture today, just one principle would be a great start, which is to not demonize someone with an opposing view. If people begin to understand the profound truth that we are all one, that we're all connected, that we all came from the same place, then that would be a transformation to marvel at and enjoy.
Picking one, the ninth principle of not insulating oneself from the pain of the world shines brightly. So much of what we are facing now is a result of separation, disconnection from our relationship with ourselves, with each other, families, the neighbor next door to the neighbor on the other side of the globe, and with the planet. So this is you. This is you have incredible things to say. If you haven't checked out the discussion forums, give yourself the gift of looking at them. They're really astounding. And if you haven't posted yet, it's never too late. Like Tracy said, this doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Just put some ideas out there, share a little bit, and it's a great practice.
Okay, here's a chat for you. Fingers ready over your computer keyboard. For you, what's the most encouraging thing in the news these days? What's the most encouraging thing? When you hear the news, read the news, what do you find most encouraging? Just obviously somewhat briefly, but what would you say?
2 Bernies. And for those of you internationally, that's Bernie Sanders running for president right now.
People are participating.
Wow.
Okay.
Acts of hope by everyday citizens. Very little encouraging in the mainstream media.
Revolution is in the air. Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Module 4, Case for Grounded Optimism, you'll hear from Lynn Twist, who's one of the founders of the Pachamama Alliance. And she says something like, grounded optimism, it's not optional. Given the kind of work we're doing, we actually need to develop the muscle that allows us to look into what's happening in the world and find the positive and not be overwhelmed and strangled by the negative. So it's a muscle that we're going to be developing here in the course.
Wonderful. All right. So we wanted to give a little bit of a deeper look at the intensive, the why of it to some extent. There's a 3-part purpose to the Pachamama Alliance that, if you don't know already, is useful to understand it because it fits with why the intensive exists. And that's to bring forth an environmentally sustainable, socially just, and spiritually fulfilling human presence on this planet. So let that sink in a little bit. That's a really big purpose. And it really all started back in the rainforest with the Twists, Bill and Lynn and John Perkins and others, really forming an incredibly symbiotic, respectful relationship and advocacy with the indigenous folks down there, the Achuar people. And for years, it was a really powerful partnership. Mostly focused on protecting the lands and cultures of the Achuar and the tribes nearby. And after a few years, they were really clear with Bill, Lynn, and John that the work they were doing was powerful and incredible and necessary, but the work that we were really mandated and tasked to do was to what they called change the dream of the modern world. They're a strong dream culture. They're saying the dream of the modern world had tilted too far to materialism and separation. And they tasked the Pachamama Alliance with changing the dream of the modern world. And so an attempt was made. There's an incredible workshop, the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium, for 10 years, really worked at waking people up to what is possible, what is, and where are we going. But a question that emerged throughout those 10 years, well, what's next? What do we do once we're awake? And we, Bill and Tracy, Lynn, and a whole bunch of other folks really saw that being awake in and of itself is crucial, but we can't really change the systems and structures that surround us without also taking action. So we have to stay awake. We need to be in community. We need to learn more about the issues, and we need to work together to actually address them. And that's really what created the Game Changer Intensive. What do you do after the symposium once you're woken up to what is, and to deepen the education that begins with the symposium, and to really provide a pathway to action and community resources so that you don't have to do it alone, and that we can go at root-striking, game-changing action to change, to fundamentally transform the systems and structures that surround us.
So really what the Pachamama Alliance is about is fostering this kind of critical mass of conscious, awake, committed individuals. And part of what we believe pretty strongly is, we don't have all the answers. We don't even have all the questions. Nobody does. Nobody does. But that by coming together in groups, in communities, talking with one another, working with one another, both the questions and the answers will emerge. So that's really what we're about. We're about empowering people to know what's going on in the world, to wake up to it, to find ways to be in action, and to be in action together. That's what we're doing. That's what this course aims to do. And specifically, we believe that as human beings, we have a responsibility that is happening. We're having an impact on how the world is unfolding. I'm not saying we're above all species, we're certainly not, but the human being is actually changing how evolution is happening. So you as a game changer, we're inviting you to be responsible for that, to see what does that mean and how can we work together so that if we are making a change or an impact on the evolution, that it's one which supports all life for all time.
I just want to speak really quickly, what Tracy's talking about, what seems clear as this course was being developed is that world can't happen if the people aren't empowered to actually create a future for themselves. This is why the need for democracy as a game-changing movement emerged. There needs to be a governance structure where people who are awake, who are committed to deep and profound ways of being and taking game-changing action, are actually empowered to affect the systems and structures around them. So this is probably the biggest reason why democracy was selected, is that it's the sort of political incarnation of what our own awakening is going to look like. That we need to work in a political system that is a match for where we're headed as a species. And obviously climate change is, it's a matter of life and death, really. Certainly for lots of species, it's an issue that is urgent and it needs to be addressed as quickly as possible.
So even in tonight, we want to keep the balance between possibility, commitment, love, hope, collaboration, and the reality. Wait, what is going on with climate change? Are we waking up fast enough? We believe it's an incredibly exciting time to be alive. Incredibly exciting time. And, who knows why you were lucky enough or we were lucky enough to have lives where we could be sitting here on a phone, on a computer, talking about questions that will affect all humanity and all life. It's like, whoa, pretty lucky.
So let's open it up to questions from you. So please do use the chat logs to pose any questions that you've got for Tracy or me, and we will do our best to address them. And if we can't, we will most certainly post something tomorrow on the course website diving into them. But any questions you've got, whether they're practical, little detailed questions or bigger ones, we'll give about a minute or so to see if any come through.
Very rich chatting going on, folks, clearly. But, you might not have questions, but again, so someone wants to know, when the course ends, do we still stay connected? What's the answer, Maya?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So actually, a lot of the small groups that have happened in the previous 9 courses continue to meet together. So one thing is we'll do our best to outline how you can stay together. There are a couple of other really important things, and that one is that there are Pachamama Alliance communities spread across the world, really, and in particular the US. And one of our commitments is to link you to those communities nearby. A lot of those communities have people who've gone through the intensive. A lot of those communities are actually talking about bringing people locally and taking the intensive face-to-face. So one way is you can totally stay connected to the people that in your small group. Will give you some ways of doing that. And the other is to stay connected to the sort of bigger movement, and we'll show you how to do that as well.
Will we provide virtual meeting rooms? We won't, but at that point, you'll have your small group well enough, you'll be able to figure out how to get a small virtual meeting room for yourselves. In terms of what's next, another thing that's next is you communicating with the people your communities, in the things you learned in this course and the things maybe you learned in the Awakening Dreamer Symposium. So getting around you people, helping them wake up, helping them get engaged in some of these issues. And somebody wrote in their application, it was like, boy, I'd like some help in how to communicate better with people who really aren't seeing things the way we're seeing things.
Do you have any examples of what former game changers are doing out in the world now? People are doing really amazing things. We've had people run for public office after taking the intensive, being inspired and doing that. Several people who've written books. I certainly wouldn't give credit to the intensive being the thing that did it, but so many people, you probably have something inside of you that's on the edge of being birthed, and the intensive has been a part of people's actually taking that next step. So people doing political action, getting involved with climate change locally, like I said, writing books, running for public office. We actually have a section of the course that we're going to use, and probably you're the first course to do it, that will highlight some alumni successes, because we hear about them all the time. And so you'll hear people, you'll hear what they're up to as well.
Doris asks, is this a love offering, or do we charge for the course? And the answer is yes, to both. It is definitely a love offering, and here's how we do it. This is voluntary tuition, so there is a tuition, and what we are trusting the community to do is to pay what feels right to you. And it's kind of an experiment. Some people say, well, how responsible is that financially? We're finding that out. So you will have an opportunity. I think there's a button that Ariel will put up on the screen today, and the next course probably on the homepage too, so you can donate. And we encourage you, we invite you, we ask you to help fund the course for yourself and for the future. I think it's about $100 a person that we figured. Yeah, but it's voluntary. So please give 1,000 if that feels better to you, or 10 pounds if that feels better to you.
We got a question. What's current news about China's oil company taking over lands in Ecuador? This is emerging now. I believe it happened in the last couple of weeks. So Bill Twist actually just flew down to Ecuador to work with some of the groups down there organizing to figure out what their response will be. But just to clarify, what has happened is that the government has allocated land to Chinese companies to begin exploration. There are thoughts of why now with oil prices so low. I'm sure Bill will actually talk plenty about it when he comes on the Final Life Community Gathering. He's really our resident expert on that, and he's down there right now working with people.
I want to comment on these chats again. There's a lot of beautiful material being communicated, and when the call ends in a little bit, this material is all going to stay available to you. It'll get posted. Is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
So tomorrow you'll be able to go to your regular Game Changer site, and you'll have access. You'll be able to read and reread, see who said what, so to keep connecting. I want to do one more.
I've got one. There's a question. Can we do monthly meetings like this so we know how big we are growing? We're actually in the process of thinking about that and toying with the idea of going beyond even just one course, but inviting alumni and checking in and keeping each other accountable maybe to what we're committed to and what we want to bring forth in the world. So we're toying with that idea, and you will probably get an invitation to do that in the next couple of months.
And let us hear from you. If you think we really should be doing it, Mario@Pachamama.org, Tracy@Pachamama.org, Ariel@Pachamama.org. Let us know what you think. Final question before we move on. Somebody said, there's so much stuff, so many great projects. Which should we focus on? And I want to be very clear. Part of what this intensive is a commitment, a stand. We say we've identified what we think is the single greatest, most powerful, pivotal project we could all be working on. And it has to do with restoring or creating, you might say there never has been a democracy, so you can't restore it, creating a true democracy. That if we really had true democracy, so many of the other issues would have a chance to get sorted out. But lacking that, it's like a ceiling on almost anything else. So, you may not agree, and there may be people who don't agree, but we're clearly saying for us, and how we're going to be communicating to you in this course is that to find out how you can act in the world, be in action in the world in a way that has us move toward creating a true democracy. That's what we say at the Pachamama Alliance. Okay.
Great. Let's do a poll.
Cool.
This next poll asks a question. In terms of activism, what's true for you? So in terms of activism, what's true for you? I am a longtime activist. I've been involved with some causes. I care a lot but don't have time. I'd like to but don't know what to do, or something else. So 5 different options. Where do you land in terms of activism? What's true? So far, about 47% of people say they're longtime activists, with about 42% saying they've been involved in something. So a really significant portion of this cohort has been involved in something at some point or are longtime activists now. And a wonderful, rich, and ready cohort of 60% of people who are ready to but don't know what to do next. You are in the right place. And in some way, what we might say is to consider the notion of proactivism, to stand for something, and you will get plenty of options to see what we propose from the Game Changer Intensive. Very cool.
Okay, now let's do a chat. This chat is, how, so far, are you taking what you've been learning in this course into your life? What are you doing with it? How have you taken it out? And again, this is for you guys to be cross-fertilizing with one another, giving each other ideas. So, take a moment and the things you've done, if there's nothing yet you've done that you feel you can write, you could say what you intend to do. How is it that the material from this course through you is making a difference in the world or can? So just start typing. Focusing on building relationships in the GCI right now.
Wonderful.
What else, you guys? What have you done? What will you do?
Told everyone possible they should take the course. Awesome. Being brave and trusting the universe.
Oh, I love that one. Ooh.
Sharing information with my existing community.
And that, you know, if we did nothing but that, you guys, if we did nothing but that, but really speak this stuff, make a huge difference. Feeling more courageous? Yes, yes. Send some of the videos. Yeah, you're very welcome to share the videos, any of the materials with your friends. Yay, shares, lobbying members of Congress. Yay, share. Sharing it with her husband, who is still not awake. We're not going to tell him you said that, but we're going to, since you're not demonizing our husbands or anyone else's, but yeah, start right at close.
A lot of people sharing the information they're getting from the course. Wonderful.
We love them too, Steph. All right, revisiting what's important to me and how I show up in the world. You know, not everybody is doing that now in the world. That alone, that's huge. Thank you. Okay, we're not going to talk about the not awake husbands. Okay. Remembering to move from my head to my heart.
Reaching out to a permaculture specialist in El Salvador. That's where my family is from. Seeing how I can help him in his work. Very cool.
Yeah. So again, this is going to be available to you ongoingly. So if you need some ideas or inspiration, you can just have a look at this posting.
So we'll move on to the next chat. And, you know, so many people talked about sharing this material with people in their community. So this next chat is really a follow-up to that. What have you found works for you in communicating effectively with people who don't share your beliefs or commitments? You know, in looking through the applications or to the course, so many people are looking for ways of talking about these issues with people who don't necessarily agree with them. So what have you found works for you in communicating effectively?
And I'd like to just have us pause for a minute, even before you type. Really look deeply. Let's not do kind of just the pat answer. Really. Think of a time you really got through to somebody who you may be surprised you did. What happened? What is it? What do you find is working in communicating? Deep listening.
Lots of listening, lots of validating and listening.
Take a deep breath and listen.
I'm scared to talk to the others.
Yeah, really, we all are, you know, and then we stay in our own little houses and the world is in the shape it's in. Yeah. Game changers, we need to talk. No, game changers, we need to listen.
Yeah.
And talk, right.
Great. Looking for common ground.
Yeah, wonderful.
Very, very cool.
So I want to just remind you, I think it was in your module 1, where we talked about stretch zones. And this is a very serious, committed request we have of you. And that is during this course, from now until March 9th, is that the end? Mm-hmm. Will you please put yourself continually into your stretch zone? And I want to remind you, there's your comfort zone. We all have our comfort zone, where we feel great, where we feel, I'm not saying we're asleep, I'm saying we feel great. You know, I'm out in the world.
Empowered, I'm good at this.
My comfort zone is so much bigger than it was 10 years ago. I'm making stuff happen. That's not where you belong in this course. No change happens in our comfort zone. Now then there's that panic zone where it's like, oh no, really, even if all humanity depended on it, I couldn't do that particular thing. Don't go there. That's not what the course is about. But that space in between your comfort zone and your panic zone, that's where all change happens. And you know, I'm in my stretch zone right now by saying, you're serious. Will you please put yourself into your stretch zone? And we can't tell you what that is because your stretch zone is different. Mine is different from his. But if you will give yourself the blessing of just some weeks, anytime you're thinking, nah, I don't think so. No, yeah. What would you be like and what would it be like? So that we're throwing down the gauntlet on that one.
embrace your discomfort. If you're uncomfortable, if you find yourself reacting to material or even the people in your group, slow down and let it simmer for a bit. See what happens. There's growth available to us when we allow those things to stay instead of running away from them.
Okay, so now you're going to get to, is it a poll or a chat?
Chat.
All right, moment of truth. What would it take for you to put yourself in your stretch zone during the intensive? What would I need to do to put myself in my stretch zone during this intensive? This is a personal question from us to you. We'd like for you to take a minute to think about it and then see if you're willing to write it down for the community to see.
Megumi says, talk to her parents about what she's doing. To reach out. Linda says to reach out and hold each other's hands.
And when that little voice comes up and says no, I'm going to listen. Speak.
And again, you're in your stretch zone. If you get your palms get a little sweaty. It makes you a little uncomfortable. Your heart rate rises a bit. So what do you need to do to put yourself there?
Now, look if you're an I love everybody person, saying love everyone is your stretch zone. That's not your stretch zone. That's your comfort zone. What would be your stretch zone?
Launch a business that catalyzes global purpose-driven leaders. That sounds pretty stretchy.
Speak up to injustice.
Wow. Make a list and invite my friends, family, and clients to the next GCI. Jim, send us an email. We got your back on that. We would love to help you. Interact more with people I don't know. These are really, really wonderful. And I'm actually touched by your honesty and vulnerability. Great. A lot of people saying speak up more. It's interesting, considering how many people say, they don't know how to engage. Sometimes, as somebody said, choosing to is the first step. So very, very interesting.
Not everybody in the whole course is on this call today. So when you meet in your small groups, would you please bring up this whole stretch zone question and just maybe invite others in your small groups to be engaged in the same challenge for the intensive.
Great. So Tracy mentioned this, and I just want to emphasize it. When you signed up for this course, we were really clear. We didn't say it was free. We talked about voluntary tuition. And the Pachamama Alliance is really committed to offering this course to as many people as who want to take it. And right now that's showing up as you don't have to pay up front. And really you pay what you want, what you can, what feels right for you. And this couldn't survive if people didn't actually pay. As Tracy mentioned, it costs about $100 per person to run this course. So consider this, maybe even consider your stretch zone. How does $100 land for you? Is that a stretch? What happens if you approach that? And for some of you, that's not. So for some of you, it's your comfort zone. Maybe approach your stretch zone. Again, this course takes money. All of the licenses, the content, all of it actually takes quite a bit of resources to put on. And this is a chance to really contribute to the future of it. We are here because prior people actually gifted this experience to us. So this is not only a chance to pay for your spot and for the intensive, but to potentially offer it to somebody in the future. So Ariel's going to actually post a link that you can use right now. And I really, really would suggest, my guess is it lives somewhere in your heart that would be something nice to do. Don't forget, do it right now. Go ahead and it's right on the screen. Click that link, pull out your wallet right now. And I say that because I know how this works. I've done it myself. I would really love to contribute to that organization. Fantastic idea. Oh, the kids are crying. Got to clean up dinner. Thank God this thing is over. Whatever it might be. So click on that right now. Pull out your wallet and take that action right now. Again, consider $100 where that lands with you.
I'll just say something while you're reaching for your method of payment. We're really serious about feedback in the intensive. This course that you're taking is much better than the ones your friends took, 5 courses ago. And the main reason is because, and I'm not being ingenuous with this is really true, it's because people who take the course give us the courtesy of telling us the stuff they like, the stuff that didn't work so well. We get emails from people who took the course a year and a half ago saying, wanted to make sure you saw this video or you've seen this article. And so the course keeps getting better and better. So we're open to feedback at all times. There's a place for you to give it right on the course site. And then at the end, we will actually poll you in various areas for your feedback and contribution to improving this particular tool.
And, I will just add to that, be as detailed as you'd like. Trust your instincts. If something irritates you or something really jumps out at you that you like, share with us. We really want to hear, and we really want to trust your instincts on this of what works or what doesn't.
One little housekeeping note, you'll notice on the main course site, there's a little thing on the right, a little button on the right. It says Great Stuff. It's the Great Stuff Forum. That's a place for you to put any links, anything that you're finding now that you want everyone in the course to be able to see, because the whole course has access to it. So please, do your favorite TED Talks there. You have the book that makes a difference, whatever. And we also go through those when we're creating the course to make sure we keep this cutting edge.
Absolutely. So your next groups are either this Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. You'll be discussing evolutionary activism. Again, a really juicy and interesting topic. Looking forward to hearing how it's going. This is probably the first week of people volunteering to moderate because the main moderator has been doing the first courses. So good luck, enjoy it. It's actually a wonderful experience to go from participating to moderating. You sort of expand your awareness and your thinking. You hold people in your mind and your heart a lot more. It changes the experience and the conversation. So we are about ready. So thank you so much for blessing us with your presence and for joining in this endeavor to really change the game. We're really honored and proud to be here. We're also really available to support you in any way that you need. There are feedback and support buttons on the course website, so use them. We're here to support and to help.
Enjoy your readings, enjoy your videos, enjoy your small groups, enjoy typing in your discussion forums, and we'll be back with you on the 9th of March.
Yes.
Till then, enjoy your course.
Take care, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cool. Okay. All right.
All right. A lot of thank yous.
Your audio.